First, I want to ask if you watch my videos and you get any enjoyment out of them, if you would share, like, and subscribe and do all of those things. Not because, you know, I'm trying to be the most popular guy in America or whatever, but just to get the information out there. As much as I enjoy the Bible, I read the Bible, I know, I've spent a lot of time in the Bible. I'm also a fan of common sense. I'm also a fan of logic. I look at a lot of things through common sense, and I look at a lot of things through logic. And I like to just give people a balanced perspective based on just, obvious observation, because we live in a world where people don't think about things anymore. They're educated to believe things. And when I say educated, I really mean socialized. They're taught what to believe and how to believe it, rather than how to think critically about it. And so people don't think critically about anything. And I just wanted to give an example here because this will help you in your life. This will help you with your health and all that stuff. I'm going to go get a haircut today. But I just want to give a common example of things that people do not understand. Okay, a while back I made a video called Calories In, Calories Out, where I talked about that was the only thing that matters. Is the amount of calories you take in and the amount of calories you put out. But since then, I've been thinking about it. I've been reasoning it out, and I realized that, we're taught that. That phrase is told to us 1,000 times. Calories in, calories out, calories in, calories out, calories in, calories out. You hear that all the time. And you hear fitness people say the only thing that matters is calories in, calories out. And I've heard some doctors say, well, it's not just calories in, calories out. There's a nuance. And I'm thinking about it, and then it occurred to me. First off, I'm going to tell you I'm not a doctor. I haven't studied even a second into medical school. I don't know anything about medical school. I am not a doctor in any way, shape, or form, and I'm not giving you doctor's advice. That's just not me. But I am going to give you a common sense observation, okay? Do with it what you will. Okay, but the fact is, and I work in operations, and I'm just going to tell you this. Imagine you have a vessel, right? And you measure a chemical that is in that vessel, and you say, so say you're bringing in crude oil, but you're only measuring the amount of kerosene that comes in and the amount of kerosene that goes out. And you really don't have any knowledge of what's happening with the rest of the fluid. You're only measuring the kerosene. That's what's happening with calorie in versus calorie out, is you're only looking at the energy. Calories are energy, okay? You're not paying attention to the total volume. In a vessel, you have to take the volume in and you have to get that volume out. That's obvious, okay? But if you just take a volume in, well, if you just measure one part of that volume that comes in and one part of that volume that goes out, you're not getting the full picture. You could be filling the vessel up. You could be overfilling the vessel, or the rest of the vessel could be going empty. You're not getting a full picture of what's inside. You need to look at the entire volume of what's coming in. And so what people are not paying attention to, and why I think diet foods have led to this marshmallowing of people that we see out in the world, is people are talking calories in, calories out. They're not talking volume in, volume out. That's the full picture. It's volume in, volume out. And what these diet foods are doing to you, and I want you to know that these companies that make diet foods, they're legitimately evil. They are evil, evil companies. This is basic reasoning, okay? They're putting a volume of, say, a soda. Say you get a Diet Coke or a 0-calorie Coke. They're putting a volume of soda in your body. And they're telling you it's 0 calories. So you don't have to burn anything off, is what you're thinking. But what they've just done is they've given you an entire volume of product so they can make some money at it, but they've not given you any additional energy to burn off that product. Now you have this volume of thing, and you don't think, because you think I took in 0 calories, I don't have to do anything to work off 0 calories. You don't think you have to do anything to get that volume out, because your brain has been hardwired your entire life to think it's calories in, calories out. But the problem is it's not calories in, calories out. It's volume in, volume out. And you're operating under a false presupposition. Remember, I told you I like logic. It's something that I like to think about, okay? A false presupposition means that you're arguing from a false idea to begin with. You have this idea in your head that's already false, and you're thinking about things through that lens, which is making your point get even more off base. This is what I think everybody needs to understand. This is why back in the day, before diet foods, people didn't get so fat. People didn't get so fat. And their fat was more dense. They had dense fat because they were just eating. They were eating foods that filled them up and things like this. These highly processed foods that have 0 calories, they're not filling you up. They're also not giving you energy to go and do things that would burn off the volume that you just put in your body. You need to get that volume out. If you don't get that volume out, then your body's got to put it somewhere, right? And so now this is why we're getting these people, and I'm 260 pounds, okay? I'm 6 foot, 260 pounds. Most people would say I'm obese, I'm a fat person or whatever. But I have seen people that are 3 times my size as far as width that are barely 50 pounds more than me. According to their claims, I don't tell them, hey, step on the scale, prove it to me. But they'll tell me, I'm 310 pounds. But their waist circumference seems like it's 3 times my waist circumference size. Now it's not, but I'm just saying that's the way it looks. My wife, we were watching Big Fat Loser or whatever it was back in the day. And these people were claiming that they weighed the same as me, but they looked twice as big as me. And I'm noticing that there's this, people are getting more obese, but it's just fluffy. It's just fluff. It's really light. It's like a pillow. It's not like dense fat like they used to get dense fat because they ate dense foods. The foods that you're getting now, the diet foods that you're getting, are not dense foods. That's why they're lower calories. They're not giving you the energy, but they are still giving you the volume. Okay, you're taking in a volume. You have to get that volume out. And they're telling you, oh, you drink this whole can of soda, there's 0 calories in it. You could drink 2 liters of soda, 0 calories in it. And so people drink a 12-pack of diet sodas a day and think, I didn't put on a single calorie. I don't have to burn anything off. I'm basically just drinking water. But no, your body's got to get that volume of stuff out. Okay? And it's not just like water. It's got all kinds of stuff that your body's got to filter and place, and it's got, all these things in it that your body has to do something with and get it out. And I think what is happening is you're getting a lot of things that are not natural or normal things, that are highly processed things. You're getting a lot of things in your body that your body really doesn't know what to do with, so it stores it in fat because that's the safest place for it to be. And your kidneys don't filter it as well, and your body's just not as good as getting the volume out as you are of putting the volume in. And that's what's leading to the massive obesity. So I would say, this is just my non-medical opinion based on observation, is stop eating diet foods. Eat regular foods. Don't even look at diet foods. If you legitimately enjoy them, if you're some kind of psychopath and you legitimately enjoy diet foods over the regular ones, fine. I'm not trying to tell you don't enjoy what you enjoy, okay? But do it in moderation, because I think diet foods are destroying people, and I think the companies that are putting them out know that. Even back in the day, I think my mom or my wife or somebody was watching Dr. Oz back when he had a show. I don't know if he still does or not, but way back in the day when he had a show, and he said that since diet foods were invented or got prevalent, the obesity rate had at that time risen 500%. I've never heard anyone make this argument. Not a single soul. I'm, as far as I know, the only one. Now, there might be somebody else out there that's making this argument, but share this out to people. If you've been eating diet foods and you notice you're doing the same thing, you're ballooning up, but the fat it's very light. It's not like you're just getting fatter and fatter, but it's not like back in the day. It's not like I will not touch a diet food. I don't want anything to do with it. So I have fat, but it's extremely dense fat. It doesn't go as wide. I just got measured the other day. My waist is a 38. That's wide. I understand a 38 is pretty big comparatively, but I mean, there are people out there at a 50 or a 60 or even higher that weigh about the same thing as I do. They weigh about the same as me, maybe give or take 50 pounds. And I think this is the mechanism for that, because I watch them. They eat a lot of diet foods. They snack on a lot of diet foods, and they drink a lot of diet sodas. They really kill like the diet Dr. Peppers and stuff. They're real big on that type of stuff. Now, again, not a doctor. This is just pure logic. If you think about it in the sense of a vessel, okay? If you're bringing in 1,000 barrels of crude oil, you have to get out 1,000 barrels of crude oil, okay? If you're only measuring in the kerosene, and out of that 1,000 barrels, you're bringing in 100 barrels of kerosene, you only measure the 100 barrels of kerosene that goes out. You don't know what's happening with the other 900 barrels. If you're not measuring how much of those are going out or anything like that. And that's what's happening with calories. You're measuring the amount of energy that's coming in, and the amount of, you're trying to think about the amount of energy that's going out, but you're not thinking about the volume. And what diet foods do to you is they tell you that, oh, this is no calories, so you actually don't have to do anything to get it out. It's like water. You can just drink 1,000 diet sodas and you don't have to do anything to get it out. Oh, you eat this big giant bag of diet calorie low Oreos, and you just as long as it fits in your 2,000 calorie a day diet. And so a lot of people will think, okay, I'm in a calorie deficit. I ate 2,000 calories. I got rid of 1,500 calories, so I should have lost some of this size. But that's not the problem. What they did was they ate 2 gallons of volume, but they only put out 1 gallon of volume. The volume is still in there. Now, this is just me giving a representation so that you understand. 1 gallon of the volume is still in there because they only measured the calories in, calories out. They're not paying attention to the actual volume that your body has to get rid of. And that's where I think the number is. I'm not saying, I don't want anybody, it would be totally disgusting to start, measuring the weight of the food that you eat and then measuring what comes out. Obviously don't do that. That would be gross. But I'm just saying you need to think about it in that aspect. That's why a lot of people say, well, it's not as simple as calories in, calories out. This person's controlling their calories, but they're still gaining weight. They're eating 1,000 calories. They're putting out 2,000 calories. They should be losing weight, but they're not. They have some disease or blah, 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 blah. No, it's that they're eating diet foods and they're not putting that volume of food out. That's what it is. And if it's not diet foods, then it's still they're not thinking about it correctly because they're thinking about calories, not the volume. they took a volume in, you have to get that volume out. And if you didn't get the volume out that you brought in, then that's going to go somewhere. A lot of people act like your body is just bringing in a volume and then just magically, just like creating more volume, just like it goes in and then it just balloons up and creates more volume. And then you have to get rid of somehow an additional volume, and that's why they're continuing gaining weight. But no, it's because they're measuring one variable of the volume that got in, and they're only measuring the output or thinking about the output of that variable. Okay? So share this around to people. Have people try to think about this in a more common sense and non-medical approach. Because the thing about doctors is they could be benevolent. They really could. They could be benevolent and they could care about you, but they could also not. They're humans, okay? They could be self-interested. They could want your money. They could want your stuff. That's, you need to understand that. Everyone's human, okay? And the Bible says that all men are liars. Only God is true, okay? So all these people out there that are giving you scientific advice or educational advice or teachers or whatever, all these people out there are humans just like you are. They lie just like you do. They manipulate just like you do. They protect themselves just like you do. They try to get money just like you do. And they live under kind of the same human problems that you do. And that's something that I think is very important for people to understand. People need to look at this in a more complete picture and just be reasonable. Because these doctors out there could have their interests at heart, but they also could not. I just ask you to remember back just a little bit to when most doctors, said that smoking was actually good for you, and now we live in this paradigm where smoking is, they consider it horribly bad for you. And there's no way to know, really, as a layman, as a person that, we don't sit down. We just have to assume that the research studies and the stuff that all these experts are doing are actually viable studies. I was talking to somebody the other day, and you have to understand, like, our medical in America, we work under what I believe they call the homeostatic model. Okay, they come up with these norms. Okay, they believe that your body should be in certain ranges, certain blood pressure range, everything's a certain range. But that, to me, that process is just common sense. It's inherently flawed because everyone is different. Every human being is different. You're different than I am. I'm different than you are. And the problem with trusting these sciences and these doctors and all this other stuff on things like this, things that have so many variables, is the doctors have no way of understanding how every single variable ties in. The links haven't been made. Maybe there's something else that hasn't been linked to a problem that you have, so it's not even on their radar. And they're just looking at things very simplistically because they don't have a full view of the totality of circumstances. And that makes it to where it's very important that you don't just trust these people implicitly like somehow they're benevolent, okay? They're not benevolent. They're just like you are, okay? They have all the same temptations and they commit all the same sins, okay? Or more, or maybe less, but still, they're still human and they're still prone to error, and they still don't have the benefit of a full view of everything and how everything ties together. If you ask any scientist in any field, if their field has learned everything that their field can learn, they're going to tell you no. More research is needed. We haven't even scratched the surface. It don't matter who it is. It don't matter what field it is. That means there is a lot of variables that they've yet to link to things. There's a lot of things that they're yet to understand. There's a lot of things that they don't know, but they will sit up there and they will tell you like they do. They will sit up there and they will preach to you the facts, okay? And that's what I want to take the time to make sure that you understand. Do not fall into these traps. Try your best to reason through things and to think about things critically and logically so that, you're not falling into these traps, okay? And I'm telling you for a fact, for a fact based on, logic. I can't sit out there and tell you that I've done research studies. And the thing about research studies is the people doing them are flawed. So the research studies are flawed as well. The people in the research studies, they're nuanced. There's so many variables inside your body, so many different things that are triggers for so many different people. There's just no way to really just sit down, crunch a number, and say blah 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 blah. You can make some guesses, you can make some inferences, you can see some statistically viable things if you have a big enough research group or whatever. If you're looking at 10, 20, 30,000 people, then maybe. But a lot of these studies that you'll see these people talking about, they'll tell you 20 people. Well, what if it's highly likely if you only have 20 people and you put 10 on one side and 10 on the other, it's highly likely that you get 10 people that are relatively the same in one group or have relatively the same proclivities. It's much more likely than if you got 20,000 people in a group. And that's just something that's neither here nor there. It's just logic dictates that you need a very large sample size, and a lot of times they're not doing very large sample sizes. They're doing 10, 12. We tested this on 10 rats, and we got this result. And it's just, it can point at something, but it's not, I would not trust that. And I would not trust most people too, because a lot of times they'll tell you, oh, we gave them this, but what you don't know is maybe there's some other variable. And maybe they don't even know. Maybe the people doing the study don't even know that it's not that thing that's causing this desired result. It's actually something that has a symbiotic relationship with that thing and just happens to be with that thing, or something like that. That's just, either way, neither here nor there. I understand that it's a rant, but I just want you to look at things more obvious. And it is obvious that it's not calories in, calories out. Because if you have a volume of soda, a 12-ounce can, that volume has to leave out. The whole 12-ounce volume. And all the chemicals that are in it, all that stuff in it has to be processed by your body. And if you're not measuring, if you're not weighing, if you're not, if you're not paying attention to what's coming out, then you have no way of knowing. You are shooting in the dark. And your body burns different things as fuel. There's just no way for you to actually volume in, volume out. It's not totally reasonable thing to try to do, but it is something that you need to think about. Because if you're bringing in a certain volume, you need to get that volume out. And if you think, oh, well, this volume of 0-calorie Coke is 0 calories, so, no problem. What it means is it's not giving you any energy, because calories are energy. It's not giving you any energy, but it's still giving you the same volume. Whereas if you just drank a regular soda, maybe it'd have, 200 calories in it. At least it's giving you some energy with the volume that it's giving you. So you can then use that energy maybe to go do something and to be more active or whatever. I don't know. But I'm just saying it is obvious that it's volume in, volume out that you need to be paying attention to. All right. God bless.